Hey guys, Bryant back again from Rock Life Studios in Monticello, Kentucky. This is episode 215 of Out the Top, April 23rd, 2024. Dan Carter is back with us once again from Alabama. What's up, buddy?
How's it going?
It's been a good week so far. We got some buggy updates. We'll get into that in a minute. We've got a pretty cool little, I shouldn't say cool. We've got several different topics we're going to hit real quick today, and then we've got a guest coming on at the second half of the show. But before we get started, I've got a bone to pick with you.
Oh man, I knew this was coming.
I get on Facebook the other day, just kind of flipping through as one does, and there's a video from 2019 that Big Hill done of one of my only races, and I see it pop up on Facebook, and I'm like, okay, that happens ever so often. And then a few minutes later, I see it again, and then I see it again, and then I see it again, and what in the hell is going on? So you shared that thing, and it made its yearly rounds, I guess. We can do without that. People don't want to see what the slowest run in National Rock Racing Association history looks like.
No. That's not the slowest run.
Oh.
Trying to hype you up, get you back in the game.
For what? For what? You're the driver. I'm the cheerleader. Go, team, go. I don't know. No.
We were hoping you'd make a comeback one day.
Well, I never left. I was just in a different role. It's the way I like it. So it's a lot less stressful. But you all can leave that alone. Get that out of here. Cody, take that down off the internet. Nobody needs to see that. It is funny looking back at that, though. Because I remember the runs perfectly. Like
still a badass video.
Oh, it was a killer video. It should have been somebody else. It was good until you got to the run part of it at the end. Like when he just played the runs. And he was really kind to me because he tried to edit out my little backup as best he could. I guess with leaving it in there, he edited it out the best he could. But listen, that run was, I don't know, I never even drove a razor fast. Like, I don't trail ride fast. What the hell was I doing racing? I started up this hill. I'm like, I'm going to turn over. What am I doing? And then going back and looking at it now, I'm like, oh, shit, that was nothing.
That just goes to show you had a good time, and that's what racing's all about.
Dude,
I think people get, it's okay to be competitive, but, you want everybody to win. You want everybody to have a good time. And, that's just the camaraderie of the sport.
It definitely was a good time. One of these days, I might try it. One last hurrah.
There you go.
But I doubt it. But I might. Speaking of videos, last week we talked about Nick Rock.
Right.
His tumble down horsepower hill or whatever you call it, and then back up the top. Nick actually reached out to us and shared a video explaining what happened to his machine during that run. So if you guys want to see that, Nick's got his own YouTube channel. It's under his name. I'm sure he would appreciate subscribers, views. Go check that out. That'll explain to you what happened to him during those runs. And something else cool he sent us, I thought, and we were going to talk about it today, but something else came up, so we're going to push this out. We'll get more in depth with this in the coming weeks. But Nick, I had made mention, I guess, I said, he went up the hill with 1,000 horsepower. I just spouted out a number. I didn't mean he had 1,000 horsepower. He sent me his dyno sheet. like the whole sheet. So me and Dan have been talking about that this week. You know, what horsepower does it take to be competitive?
Right.
You know, is it 500, 600, 700? Do you have to have 1,000 horsepower? What is, like I said, we'll talk about this again in another episode. But what is? I guess my question would be, what is the most cost-effective horsepower?
Right. Yeah, we, like you said, we can touch on all that on another episode, because I've got a bunch of stories to kind of tell, but it's almost like that's everybody's go-to. It's like, I'm falling behind, I need more horsepower.
Yeah, and I'm not going to discredit it, because I mean it is important, right. Obviously. I think, in my opinion, suspension means more than horsepower. But you can never go. I mean, there's no replacement for displacement.
That's right.
I mean, it's just plain and simple. But I do think suspension is probably more important. You could probably do more with a 500 horsepower buggy that has really good suspension than you could an 800 horsepower buggy that just won't stay planted.
That's right.
Anyways, we'll get into that. We'll try and get us a couple bouncer drivers on later in the summer, and we'll revisit this topic. I just wanted to mention it while it was fresh on my brain. Razor buggy update of the week. It runs.
I'm glad to hear that.
It runs. Before I left the shop today, we cranked her over, and so you had mentioned to me that you didn't think that buggy or that motor combination was running correctly.
Yeah, and it's funny you mentioned that, because less than 30 minutes ago we were watching a video of me getting some seat time in that car, and I mean it was screaming. I mean, it seemed fast just on the video, and it handles really well, but it felt like it was just missing something. I mean, I couldn't explain what it was, but it just felt like it wasn't all there. Well,
during disassembly, during disassembly, you know, we think we found the issue. And when we put it back together, we addressed that issue. And have you ever come up behind some of these Razor buggies and when they start it, especially the guys, of course, we're running straight pipe now, but especially all the guys that got straight pipe, you hear them start, and you can hear that turbo whistle just sitting there. You know, our stuff never sounded like that, and I didn't think anything about it.
Yeah.
You turn the key on that deal now, and you can hear it. It's there. So I think we fixed the issue.
Right.
I'm hoping to get it off the lift tomorrow, and I'm not going to drive it much, but I do want to give it a couple rips just to see, make sure it's running correctly. We got it going. Got the new fuel system in. Catch cans on. We just got to finish bleeding the coolant out of it tomorrow, and then off to the decal shop.
Sweet. Yeah, that I'm glad to hear that, because it seems like you take 10 people, they all buy a brand new machine, build a chassis out of it, and 8 out of 10 of them seem to have problems when they go back together. I mean, everything could be running perfectly smoothly, but it seems like every one of them is going to have a hiccup when it comes to putting that machine back together, and there being, you know, some sort of issue with it. So I'm glad to know everything went smoothly.
It fired right up. First hit of the key, never hesitated. There was a small, when I first cranked it, there was a small, I patted the gas, and it wouldn't take it and it shut off. But I think that was more so it still had a little old fuel. You know, what was in the fuel lines, in the fuel rail.
Right.
It still had some gas in it, and we're on to different and bigger and better things now. So as soon as all that cycled, it cleared up, never missed a lick. So it's good to go. So we'll have that at Rush. Hoping it's wrapped. Talked to the wrap guy today. He was very overwhelmed with his week schedule, but he said he'd guaranteed he's going to get us in, so we'll get that dude done up, cleaned up, and at Rush it'll be in the booth all weekend. So stop by if you're up there and check it out. I'm going to say this every time until then. If you don't have tickets to Rush, get them. Don't be stuck on the outside trying to get in and you can't get a ticket. And don't get on Facebook and go, well, they turned me around. Buy your tickets. Get your tickets. If you're a racer and you got family coming, more than your +1, if you get whatever that deal is, I don't even know, get them tickets. Get it done. No excuses. Speaking of racing, I wanted to, me and you have talked about this a couple times. I know I'm all over the place today, guys. Me and you've talked about this a couple times. And so, you know, once again, I'm obviously I'm a big NASCAR fan, and something that has happened in that world the last 2 weeks that relates to us, I kind of want to talk about a little bit. So when you pull into most NASCAR tracks, like if you're walking into the seats for the first time, you look out, you see the racetrack, the pits, the garage. There's always, at 90% of the racetracks, there's always a big scoring pylon that tells you where everybody's running.
Right.
And especially like at Daytona and places like that, you come through, if you're going to the infield, you go through the tunnel and you look up, and the first thing you see is a scoring pylon, almost always. I don't know, you know, it's just something that is synonymous with racetracks. The last 2 weeks in NASCAR, they have rolled up to the racetrack, and the racetracks have removed their scoring pylons.
Huh.
Yeah. So they're saying their reasoning is the company who makes them is no longer supplying parts to repair them. So maintenance costs, upkeep costs are getting ridiculous on those, and so they're taking them down to possibly do something else in the future, or they want fans to just, if you want to see where your driver's running, check your phone, which is, you know, that's what I want to do. I want to go to a racetrack and watch my phone.
Right, yeah.
So the reason I bring that up is I don't like how at most of these off-road races, your spectators never know, unless they've got a pen and a paper and they're writing down times, they have no idea who your winners are.
That's right.
So like NASCAR's taking away scoring pylons for whatever reason. We need them too. We need something to address the standings of the day, I think.
Right. Yeah. Even with our Friday runs, which there's not, I would say there's not as much going on, but
well,
there's just as much racing, but I would say that there's not as many racers.
Well, I don't know, dude. You look at the entry list from this year so far, you know, we've had 24 in Cup, 18 in stock, then your 3 or 4 VIN guys. So you're having an almost 20 class, two classes of almost 20 people on Friday.
Yeah, but you know, the point I was trying to make is, it just seems like there's a couple of hours after we finish racing that everybody's just in limbo before podiums. I'm not going to say a couple of hours, but
well,
I mean,
it's a while.
it's a pretty good while, and I feel like to kind of keep everybody's attention is to go into the race, have podium 15, 20 minutes after it max. And then that way that keeps the fans engaged with the sport and the drivers.
Well, and even as a fan, unless they do it like immediately after the class, I don't think. I mean, fans aren't going to stick around to see a podium. I don't think our fans care that much. But I'll guarantee you, none of them know who won.
Right.
We'll take Windrock for example. The Saturday race. The bouncers ran, the UTV Bounty ran, then the youth ran. We'd been up on the hill so long after the Bounty or after the bouncers run, we went on back to the vendor trailer. It was another hour and a half.
Right.
Before podiums. Nobody's going to hang around for that. I don't know. I just feel like even if we had a timer clock where people could see it, or if there was a way, we've got Zach on the mic. Give him something to do that's important other than run his mouth. Let him announce our top 5 as soon as it's over.
Right.
It's not a secret, Everybody all of us racers pretty well know who got the top 3 anyways.
Yeah.
And there's no point in keeping it a secret. I wish our fans had a way of knowing who won the day.
Right. And like, even if you watch like Hillside Live, Matt and Bree keep up with the times and the standings. It'd be just as simple to relay that to Zach and say, hey, we just got through running UTV Cup. Here's our top 5 for round 1.
Well, I've noticed they've been doing a really good job. I'm glad you brought that up. They do a really good job of doing a rundown of your top 5 from each class, each run. But even they don't announce an overall winner on
Right.
the live stream.
Right.
So not only do the people at the event not know who won, the people who have watched the live stream for the last 3 hours don't know.
Right.
And I do think that needs to be – there's no reason I should spend 3 hours watching your event and I have no idea, unless I've been keeping up with it myself.
Right.
I have no idea who won. I don't like that. I don't know that it means that much, I guess, in the grand scheme of things, but I love this stuff. I want to know.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to text you if I'm not there and go, hey, Dan, who won?
That's right.
After I've watched it. That part's, I don't know. I wish we had a way. I don't know what the answer is, other than just, and like I said, it could be as simple as Zach announcing it over the intercom, or they could do on the live feed, tell it there. But I think our fans deserve to know who the winners are without having to hang out for 30 or 40 minutes or an hour after the event's over to see the podiums.
Well, and that would let the drivers know to stick around too. Like there's been times that we've ran and think that, oh, well, we didn't have that great of a day, but for some reason we stuck around and then we were on the podium.
Yeah. I mean, I do think it would be helpful because, if it is going to be, if it's going to be a long time after the race is over, I can be a long way home in an hour.
Right.
If I don't have a reason to hang around, then I can that's 60 miles, boys, or 70. We can be on down the road somewhere.
That's right.
But yeah, I just wish that would be addressed. I don't like that our fans have no idea who won the daggone event. They have to wait on somebody from the media to post results, and that's not their job to do. I mean,
Right.
It is, but it didn't. Anywho, anything else you want to chat about before we bring our guest on this week?
I'm good. Other than I wished I would have been able to prepare for our guest a little bit more, but I think this all just came out in the past day or so. So, and it's something we've touched on and it needs to be talked about. So,
well, I'll go ahead and tell everybody. So we talked last week. Dan talked a little bit about this deal going on in Alabama, with the government more or less trying to regulate ATV parks. So, from what I understand, they have that bill at the state level is not getting any traction, and that's great. But the bad part is those same people that were bringing that before the state just took it to the county, and they're picking on Indian Mountain ATV Park, and we've got the head honcho of Georgia Clay Offroad and superstar Heath Meehan is coming on, and he's going to talk a little bit about that. He's a little bit more in the know. He's big down there. He handles, or not handles, he frequents Indian Mountain, knows a whole lot of the ins and outs down there. So we're going to have him on and let him kind of explain what he thinks is going on. And guys, this is important to us because we have a race scheduled at this park this fall.
Right.
So this is something we need to stay on top of. We'll be right back. We'll get Heath on here. Don't go nowhere. All right, guys, we are here with our guest, Heath Meehan, the head honcho over at Georgia Clay Offroad. Dan, why are you laughing?
I was waiting on you to lose it.
I about did. We're not going to tell.
I saw Heath laughing, and I was like, "Oh shit!" And then like, my bad.
No, you're good. Before we come on, me and Heath were discussing. I was discussing what the correct pronunciation of his last name was because I wasn't sure, but now we know, and I almost screwed it up anyways.
Because he was like, just call it's whatever, however you want to say it.
Yeah.
It's like when he said just however you want to say it. I was like, man, tell him what he's going to call it.
No, I better not. All right, so let's get down to business. The reason Heath's here is one, I've known me and Heath. I'm not going to lie and pretend like we're best friends, but you've bought stuff at the shop before, so you've been a customer of mine. I've known who you are for quite a while.
Absolutely.
And I've followed Georgia Clay. I've seen you on the interwebs, and I know you're very connected to Indian Mountain. Last week on the show, we talked a little bit about what's kind of going on down there, and then we had a whole nother show lined out for tonight. But as I got home this afternoon on the internet, there was a new development about Indian Mountain popped up that the county had adopted some resolution, basically the same thing I think that they were trying to pass at the state level. They've pretty well accepted into the county. So we want to hear what you know. Tell us your view of it, I guess, and just kind of what's going on down there.
So I really appreciate you having me on here. As far as the head honcho at Georgia Clay, before we get into that, I am not the head honcho. The people that are involved with Georgia Clay, all the people, people that watch, everybody that comments, they are the head honchos. That's the reason this page works for what it is. Mm. I've been part of other pages. I just knew exactly where this page needed to go as far as try to make a great community with the side-by-side.
It has filled a void.
Yes, it has. It has filled a void in the South. There was, of course, David Upton and Razor Life, and there's a bunch of other people that, they had the void. They still have it, but I think I've got into a little niche of it. But going back to what I know, so, and this is a lot of hearsay of what I know. I have yet to been down to the city and done anything because I work 24/7 with my company, so it's hard for me to break away from things. But so from what I know, and like I said, this is all strictly my opinion, there is a family or families that are associated with the county of Cherokee County. Ever since Indian Mountain opened, they did not want to be part of it. They didn't want the Indian Mountain there. They didn't want the side-by-sides. They didn't want ATVs. They didn't want anything. They have threatened from day one to shut that park down, which I cannot fathom why you would want to shut something like that down when they have been the utmost respectful in every single way, shape, or form. They've tried to come to those people, talk to them, just, hey, how can we work this out? Do we need to cut off at certain times? Do we need to do this? Do we need to do that? And they have been just not the nicest people involved. It is a good old boy system in Cherokee County. The Andrew Jones guy, the senator, his daddy is on the commission board of that county.
Yeah, I've noticed that. I thought that was rather convenient.
See, and let's call it what it is. It's like I said, it's a good old boy system. I mean, we're in the South. Things like this do happen. But for just being blatant about it, because you try to pass a bill that would hurt an industry in Alabama, the industry stepped up and was like, yeah, no, that's not going to happen.
Right.
It was wonderful at the Capitol. Everything I saw, I mean, literally the whole entire industry and the other senators started looking at this and was like, yeah, something's not right about this. Why are we going to kill the whole industry in Alabama? So they went to the, I guess, city or county board. Daddy's on the county board. Hey, guys, let's pass this. So they passed a resolution. They were trying to get a bunch of insurance that there's no way to get that insurance.
I think outside of the insurance, from what I understand and from what I heard today, what was $5 million insurance is what they're wanting.
Yes.
Which is almost unattainable in itself. The caveat I think that's got me is, from what I heard today, if there's complaints, a noise complaint, or somebody complains about the water quality in the creek, they can get fined, and if they have to send an inspector out to check it, then the park is responsible to pay the inspector, and the park has no say.
See, that's a rig. In my opinion, that's a rigged system.
Yeah.
You're rigging the system. Who's to say that? Okay, so where the properties border and where these houses are, I don't understand how you can make a noise complaint, because it would have to be a certain decibel at your place, if I'm not mistaken, on noise complaints. So how are you going to do that? But with that county, it seems like if they do that, like you said, they're just going to fine them off the rip.
Well, in the audio clip that was played today, they were specifically asking about that, the noise. What's the end here? What happens if somebody calls in?
Right.
One of the options was, the park gets fined $500 per complaint, or we go back and we make a tally mark that, okay, you got 2 noise complaints tonight. That's 2 on the sheet. And at the end of the year, if you have so many complaints, we're just not going to renew you. We're going to shut you down.
Okay, again, why is the county trying to hurt their own businesses? This place, they did an economic study, and I think the place, I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was in the millions.
Oh, I'm sure.
Of what this place does.
Right.
What kind of sense does that make?
And I don't know the area. I've only been down there. I've been to two events down there. The area, from what I've seen, there's not that many homes that are like at least close to the heart of it.
There's not. It's a neighbor. So it's a neighbor that has tons of acreage in between it.
See,
it's when you start looking at it, it's kind of like it's kind of suspect.
Yeah, I had wondered too if I know at some point they'd changed the accessible roads for people to come in and out. Is that part of, or do you believe is that part of the whole deal as well?
That is. So it's funny. We all have big trailers. Typically, you're in an 8.5 wide foot trailer with a side by side. Side by sides are, they're as big as Jeeps, cars, and whatnot. The community leading up to it probably has, I would say, probably 15, 20 houses that has, acreage, and they didn't like people coming up and down the road because it is an old country back road. It is not as big as a normal road. So therefore, when you've got big trucks and trailers, big rigs and stuff like that coming through that little small road, it would get tight. Right. I can understand that. I get that. I would get that if I lived there. What I don't get is when you make a law in a county and the people on that road have the same size trailers.
Right.
And you can let them go. But anybody that comes to that county else, no, you can't. You're going to get fined.
Well, I knew that was a big issue because the last time I come down, the first time I came down, that wasn't in effect. And then the second time I came down, I knew that had been put into place. And so I called Levi Carter.
Yep.
I said, Levi, how do I don't know the roads down there. How do I get in? And I explained to him, and he's like, dude, just come in the way you came before, and you're fine. You're not going to be affected by that. But I had some friends who had went to Florida and were going to come back up through Indian Mountain. And I told them, I was like, listen, guys, GPS is probably going to take you this way. Don't listen to it. Don't get yourself in trouble. And I showed them on the map the way in and all that stuff. And I don't know. If you want to shut down and have one access point to the park, I mean, if that's the battle we got to lose, then okay, you win. They can have that.
Yeah, that's not a bad battle. I mean, coming from, and like you said, y'all, if you come from the Alabama side, or if you come from up north, or if you come from south, it's a road called Pryor Station. I don't know what it's called when it crosses the Alabama line, but that's the name of the road on the Georgia side. Mm-hmm. And that's the road that they were complaining about, the big trucks and trailers, and everybody started going the back way. The back way is just as narrow as the other way, but the only difference is there is absolutely zero houses on the back way. And the way you probably came from Piedmont is you literally take, I think, either left or right onto the road that Indian Mountain is on.
Yep.
And 2 miles up on the right.
Yep.
There's one house or one property, I think, on that road besides Indian Mountain.
So, okay. Like I said, if that's the battle we got to lose that's fine. But I don't see, you get people who don't know, this is a public park that there's people coming from everywhere.
Right.
What happens to those guys? I mean, I don't know. Everybody has these things now. They're called cell phones. They got GPS on them, and that's the way it's going to take them.
Right.
I don't know. That's the crap end about that. But I even heard as well that this new deal. So this is where it affects me personally as a vendor, because chances are if I come to Indian Mountain, I'm probably going to be working.
Yep.
Very rarely do I actually get to come ride and enjoy myself. We're always chasing the almighty dollar. But they even mentioned vendors specifically. They're going to have inspectors out there, people walking, checking vendors, making sure they're permitted properly, making sure they're paying the Alabama sales tax and all this. And if they're not, that's going to go against the park, not the company.
Again, that's the good old boy system trying to shut down and take money instead of being like, so, man, it makes no sense why a county, and here's another thing that with vendors and with attractions, this place is a big attraction. Why wouldn't you say, you know what, let's crush all this, let's squash it all. How can we help you help us? How can we be part of you? And make the community, not make the community, but show the community. And I don't think it's, like I said, that's not the community. Because everybody I've ever talked to that lives in Piedmont and whatnot knows about Indian Mountain. It's a single family. From what I've gathered, it's a single family that has a personal vendetta against Labriska and Kirk and Indian Mountain. It's a very frustrating thing. It's very frustrating.
It's frustrating and it's scary.
If they can do that here, what's to say they won't do it in West Virginia, Kentucky, Tennessee, other parts of Alabama?
You're right.
Well, I mean, look at we're going to Rush in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Have you been to Rush?
I've never been. It is on the list of this year to go.
So the road going into Rush, is not fun.
Really?
It is a 1-lane little blacktop road, and there's several houses on it.
Have you ever been to Willing in the Country?
I have not. Dan probably has.
Yes.
Is it kind of like going into Willing in the Country, Dan?
Yeah. Somewhat.
Gotcha.
So, you get a couple people on that road that see that this worked. What's to stop them from at least causing a stink and trying? Even Windrock.
Well, and I'm glad you said that because it jogged something in my mind, and it's like it goes to show you the intelligence level, which I'm not dissing anybody, but I mean, think about the intelligence level that these Karens have. Look at the profit margin that these other people have made just by jumping on. Look at this big attraction that we have that's right down the road. Well, you know what? We've got land that adjoins that attraction. So what are we going to do? Let's do an Airbnb. Let's do anything that we could monetize this and make it profitable. That's all these people have to do. If they can soil all they want to, but instead of shutting the park down, why not say, hey, let's build a couple of cabins on the property and Airbnb these things or rent them out and do a little campground and monetize this instead of just being a negative Nancy and wanting to ruin everybody's good time and shutting the park down. I mean, what good is that going to do? Because look at all the economics of the park. I mean, it has a trickle effect on gas stations. It's got a trickle effect on restaurants. It's got a trickle effect on hotels.
Yep.
I mean, why? I just don't understand. Just because you know a commissioner and you think you can pad his pockets or whatever to get something done, big whoop. We all know somebody. I mean, So what? But what's the main thing everybody wants to do in this life? They want to have a good time and make money. So, I mean, why not join the crowd?
It's funny you say that, Dan. There was an Airbnb on that road, Prior Station, that that you're not supposed to go on during events and whatnot, that had to shut down because of them saying that you can't have a certain size trailer.
Right.
Really?
Yes. And we let them all the time post in the page because we're a big proponent for Indian Mountain. We love them, friends of ours. And they had to shut it down. There's property that could have been bought, RV camps, RV sites, like you're saying, Dan. Throw up a small shack.
Right.
Yeah, you can go to any corner of any town, of any street, and then buy one of these buildings. And for $10,000-$15,000, you can have a money making product.
Absolutely, right. And I think the person that's complaining, I want to say they either own a grading company or they own something that they don't care about the money. Yeah. They just want Indian Mountain there.
Just the general disregard for, I would hate to know the amount of money they've spent at Indian Mountain. Because I know from the time I come to one of the very first events that we had down there, it was the weekend Pro Rock and SRS come together. It was one of the first Ride for Cures. Dan, what year was that?
I think Ride for Cure was either 2 years or a year ago. The first one at Indian.
No, it was 19 or 20.
Yeah, I'm gonna say that it was 3 or 4 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
The part was brand new. We raced in the bowl or the.
I still had the busted knuckle toter, so that's been. It had to have been 20.
Yeah.
Because I got it in 20. I got the new one in 20 or 21. Anyways, where I was going with that is I could see the difference from, and just I've not traveled far outside of the parking lot. Just being completely honest with you, I could see just the difference in those areas. From that time to this last fall when I was down there, it's a completely different place.
Yep.
And I know that they've been, constantly working on building new trails and constantly working on building the new race places and doing upgrades and building campsites, and like the amount of money that is at jeopardy here for that one family.
Yes.
Is scary to me because, I don't know these people. I don't know how many $500 tickets they're willing to pay. I don't know how many inspection fees they're willing to pay. And ultimately it's going to be, if this does, I guess it has, or if it does go through or what have you, it's up to the riders really to do the best they can to help keep the park out of trouble. But it's not, the riders are not the one paying the fines. So I don't know how many of those tickets they're willing to pay to keep the doors open. So this is, and the two reasons we talk about this on the podcast is one, we've been down there. We've had some races. We have an upcoming event on the books down there in, I think, September.
Ride for a Cure.
Ride for a Cure. We have a race coming up down there. And, these, if this goes into effect, this could play a very serious role into that. But, man, it's just such a cool place. And I hate that it's happening there. I don't know. It sounds like to me, I'm not in the know. I've not seen an official statement. I guess we're going off I guess it was the radio station that posted the audio clip of that and said they had adopted the resolution. But man, if there is any way, or if there's anything anybody could do right now, would be the time to do it. But I'm afraid it's a little too late.
I don't think it's too late. I think what it would take would be other senators to look at Andrew Jones and seriously ask him, hey, man, why are you hurting your own community? Why are you and your daddy, because he's a commissioner, trying to hurt the community and not trying to help it by like we understand? Build a hotel there. If you build a hotel close to that park, imagine how many people would stay at that thing.
Right.
It would be full every weekend.
Oh yeah. I mean, perfect example is look at Hawk Pride.
Oh.
I mean, every weekend you go to Hawk Pride, and it may not even be an event weekend. You'll see at least 3 or 4 trailers with Jeeps or side by sides at some of these motels.
Yep, there's a couple of motels right there at a gas station right down the hill from that. It is packed every time I go there.
Yeah, and it's like there's sad to say, but they're slitting their own throats.
I agree with you 100%. And the funny thing is, they still list it as an attraction for that county. Like, really?
I don't know, man. I hate that this is happening. Like I said, it is scary in general for the people who own the park and run the park. It's scary for the patrons of the park. It's scary for every other off-road park in the country.
Yes.
So people, you need to stay locked in on this and see what goes on and find a way to make sure this doesn't happen to you, to your parks.
Yes.
Stay vigilant when this stuff starts getting talked about through your state representatives and whatnot. If these grumblings start coming up, get involved then. Because I do think he said in his audio today that this started 3 years ago, which is, the park hadn't been open.
So the funny thing about that 3 years ago, the person that came to Labriska and Kirk said, in 5 years, I will have you shut down.
Well, he's working on that schedule.
He is working on that schedule, unfortunately.
Man, I hope. I just hope and pray that doesn't. I hope it doesn't get their spirits down. I hope it doesn't affect them. Maybe if this goes through, maybe there is some common ground everybody can find. I don't know, dude. I've not seen an off-road park take off like Indian Mountain has.
It's got everything that an off-roader would want. You want mild, it has mild, and if you want to push your boundaries, you can push your boundaries. And the great thing about Indian Mountain, and I say these people, the people that are trying to hurt Indian Mountain, I don't think they've ever even been out there.
Probably not.
They don't have an ATV, or if they do have an ATV, maybe they ride it in their local trails, but it's kind of the same thing. Indian Mountain has gave that community and surrounding communities an area to come to and ride your ATV, ride your dirt bike, ride your side-by-side, and have a great time and bring the local economy money.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of a no-brainer, and just to have one family say, you know what, I just don't like it.
Right.
It reminds me of growing up. We used to run dirt track, roundy round. There's always drama around those places because of noise and dust and things like that. They struggle to survive every weekend all across the country. I think even Cletus down at the Freedom Factory, he's kind of going through some of that. They're trying to shut him down. So I mean, it's scary. All it takes is one person to jump in and go, "Hey guys, that's enough," and put their nose to it, and they can wreak a lot of havoc. Man, I appreciate you coming on tonight. I won't keep you. We'll stay aware of this, of what's going on, and we'll keep our ear out. And if there's more developments, we may bring you back here in a couple weeks or a month, or we may check back with you later in the year and let us know how it's going. But we do appreciate you coming on. We appreciate everything Georgia Clay Off-Road does for the off-road community. I appreciate being able to be a part of that page. Like I said, it definitely filled a void that was on Facebook after some of the bigger groups kind of slowed down and went away. There wasn't places for people like me to go. And now there is. Heath, thank you for coming on, buddy.
I appreciate the opportunity, and Georgia Clay is always going to be part of everything. This page is not going to ever shut down. It is for the people, by the people. That sounds kind of corny, but like that's what it was built for. We really do appreciate the support from everybody. We appreciate the support from Rock Life. Dan, can't wait to see your rig run.
I appreciate it.
Hey,
we're excited about it.
stay on the lookout for that. We're gonna have her at Rush not this weekend, next weekend. She's getting ready to touch down on the ground for the first time tomorrow.
Hey.
We ready. Heath, thanks for coming.
Thank y'all.
Appreciate you.
See you, bud. All right, guys, that was Heath. I'm not going to say his last name because I'll get tickled and say it wrong again. But that was Heath with Georgia Clay Off-Road. So pretty informational little segment there. Everybody pay attention. Stay on the up and up on that stuff. Rush Off-Road, May 3rd and 4th. Get your tickets. Rock Life Race at the Wayne County Fair, July 5th. If anybody listening wants to help with that, get in contact with me. We're going to try and have at least a $1,500 to win race. I'm going to get with the organizers of that event, which is not me. I'm going to get with the organizers of that event and see where we stand on our prize package here this coming week, and we'll try and get that updated as we get a little closer. Daniel, pretty good week, pretty good show.
Blast as always. I had a good time.
A blast as always. Yeah, there's a whole lot going on down there in your neck of the woods. You're going to have to get down there and crack some whips.
We're going to hire somebody. We need some muscle.
we need some muscle. All right, guys. Until next week, next Tuesday, we'll get in and do a little preview for Rush. And then we've got a guest lined up for Rush weekend. We'll put that out at some point. So stay tuned, guys. If you've not, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit the bell, get notified whenever we post new videos, audio podcasts, rate, review, leave us a 5-star if you can. Guys, we appreciate everybody. And thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Bye. Beautiful.